But everybody, we're here with Jimmy the Brick Flick. He is a UFC fighter. How you doing, man? You doing all right?
Yeah, man, doing good. Ready to get back to action, man. Hoping I get the call soon.
Sweet, awesome. So we'll just get right into it. What kind of got you into the mixed martial arts world? What kind of drew you in, and what kept you going?
Honestly, growing up, I wrestled my whole life. My dad got me into sports, and we had a rough life growing up. I was the youngest out of five. Technically, six was born, but my little sister, got adopted before she was even born because we were really poor, and we had a tough life. But my dad kept me in sports, and when I was 17, I decided to drop out of school and become a UFC fighter. I watched The Ultimate Fighter in 2005. I was 15 years old, getting in a lot of trouble, and I just all I had behind me was wrestling, and I was ornery, and I thought I knew how to fight until I really started fighting people, and then I really had to learn. But that's what I wanted to do, so I gave up school and moved all the way to Corpus Christi, Texas. I was born in Sand Springs, Oklahoma, and started training down there. Became a black belt, and my career took over.
Sweet,
That's
that's awesome.
awesome. Martial arts may not be the easiest sport to get into. Who is your greatest inspiration that maybe gave you that push to try to succeed in it?
Chuck the Iceman Liddell. That's who I watched growing up. Like it shattered my heart when Rashad Evans knocked him out. It was devastating. But the coolest thing ever is my first pro title that I ever won. Chuck Liddell was the special guest and put it around my waist. So that even made it better, and that's why Chuck will always be my idol when I got into fighting.
That's awesome. What a full circle moment, man. To get you into the sport and then to ultimately give you the belt. That's sick.
So, who would be like your top five of like all time? Any fighters?
Well, John Jones, of course, and that's not just because it's John Jones. I trained at Albuquerque, New Mexico, before John Jones even became the champ. He was very humble then. He was always a nice guy, messed around with us, uh, loved watching him train. And so, John Jones, of course, and yes, I do think he's the GOAT. So, that's another reason. I've always looked up to Demetrius Johnson, me being a small guy in WEC. He fought at 135 for a long time, and the guys couldn't even finish him. Most of his fights were losses by decision, and then he moved to 25 and just dominated the 25 division. I like a lot of fighters, man. I mean, I could actually just go on. I love Rashad Evans because I got to grapple him one time, and I did a flying triangle to Rashad Evans before I actually ever did it in the UFC. So now, I didn't tap out Rashad Evans, obviously. He just kind of circled around and shook me off. But it was a great opportunity that I'll never forget when I trained at Albuquerque, New Mexico. Uh, I mean, I watched Alan Bleacher fight for Hollis, the jiu jitsu guy that breaks everybody's ankles. Became an instant fan for the way he defended his jiu jitsu, his ankle locks, and then finished him, and he's got a tattoo of Johnny Cash on his arm. Like, there's a lot of things that brings me to fighters like Donald Cowboy Sharon. Probably not even pronouncing his name right, Sharoni. I lived with him and Leonard Garcia in Albuquerque, New Mexico, when I was training down there. So I've always looked up to Cowboy. I'm excited to see him come back for two more fights. Some people might not be. I am. I've always been a fan. Same thing with Leonard Garcia. John Dotson, got to train with him. Now he's the bare knuckle champ. Like I said, this sport is just it's like been my whole life ever since I was 17 and decided what I was going to do with my life.
So I know that fighting takes up a lot of your all's life, right? So when you do get some spare time, what do you like to do with your spare time?
Well, I mean, I like to play poker, and I got a lot of kids. Texas Hold'em, I like to go play Texas Hold'em here in Oklahoma. We have casinos. So, and then like in my bed, like I got all the kids just hanging out. We're just hanging out, then got kids in the living room, and just spending time with the kids, spending time with my fiance, and uh, just being a regular person. Like I'm on social media and I have a card group where I sell UFC trading cards and my own card, and it's called UFC Card Hunters. And you can join our group, and then you get like sometimes I'll do UFC stuff that I fought in, and I'll do it on my group and sell it. And um, I've met a lot of people on there. So I go and do card shows. I've traveled to like 4 different states doing card shows. So I like doing that as well. And, that's kind of like my little hobby, I guess, now that I kind of collect cards and collect my own cards as well. I got my whole rookie rainbow set. Like, there's like 21 different editions you have to get. And I got all of them all the way to the 101. So it was pretty cool.
That's
That's
sweet.
awesome. As a kid, that's got to be something. I mean, of course, everybody dreams of being a UFC fighter, having your own trading cards one day. How does that feel?
Oh man, it feels great. Especially I think I come from a small town because for me as a kid it was a small town, but when I got popular and I started to look up the population, my population when I grew up it was actually 15,000, and now Sand Springs where I live is one of the fastest growing cities in Oklahoma, and we got a population of 22,000. But I'm the first UFC fighter, so now when I go and talk to kids, I like to speak in front of a bunch of kids, especially high schoolers. I speak every year in front of the high schoolers and just tell them to chase their dreams, but have a fallback because I didn't have no fallback. I didn't graduate. I didn't, like we have Quick Trip here, which is a convenience store. Like kids make bukus of money working for them. They can set you up for life. There's all kinds of jobs that can help you actually become what you want to be. So I try to push that as well as chase your dream because I'm here from Sand Springs, Oklahoma. I made it to the UFC. I have my own UFC trading card. Like these kids that play football, they might not think they can make it, but it's possible. And that's kind of what I try to push. And when I'm done fighting, I'm gonna have my own gym here in Sand Springs, Oklahoma, and that's my plan when I'm done.
That's awesome. It's awesome.
How did you get the nickname the Brick? Just like having bricks for hands, or what is
Mm.
it?
Dude, a lot of people ask, so it's kind of funny how I got the nickname. So growing up, my middle name is Steven. So I went by Steven Flick growing up. My father's Jimmy Flick as well. So, but I'm not a junior because we have different middle names. So when my mom would yell Jimmy, I would come and then she'd be hollering for my dad. So long story short, they started calling me Steven. So I grew up as Steven. And when I started fighting, nothing rhymes with Stephen Flick. It doesn't. So one of my buddies was like Jimmy the Brick Flick, and then I was like, well, my game's solid all over like a brick, so I kind of like it. So then I just started going by Jimmy because it kind of went with the nickname that I kind of gave it myself, but I mean, I got good wrestling, I got good jiu-jitsu, and I got pretty good stand-up. I mean, I got professional Muay Thai fights. I mean, y'all know who Chris Gutierrez is. I fought that guy in pro Muay Thai. I fought him in pro MMA. Muay Thai, he beat me by decision. MMA, he did finish me by leg kicks, but that was at 135. I've got pro boxing fights. I've fought boxing world champs and went to a decision. I'm 1-1 in kickboxing. So I've done it all. So I think I'm solid all over like a brick.
That's awesome. As a fan, we get to watch hundreds of fighters make the walk, but to us, that's normal. Could you explain kind of the feeling that you do get when you do make the walk?
Well, for me, it's kind of weird, like because when I watched the UFC in 2005 and I watched the Ultimate Fighter, the reason I wanted to become a UFC fighter was because when they made the walk, especially Stephen Bonner and Forrest Griffin made the walk to the octagon to fight for the Ultimate Fighter finale. Like all the people screaming and yelling at them when they made that walk. So in 2005, I'm like, man, I want to walk out in front of that many people. That's what I want to experience. Then you fast forward to 2020 and we get hit with a pandemic, and that's when I make my UFC walk. I literally pulled off the flying triangle with no fans in the crowd. It was maybe about 12 people there counting cornermen, the fighters, the ref, and the commentators. It was a different way and a different feeling. But then you fast forward to a couple of years later and they give me the opportunity to walk out in front of 14,000 fans in Toronto, Canada. That was life changing. That's what I trained for. That's what I wanted. That experience is breathtaking, and that's what I want every time I fight. I do like the Apex now, but I want that 10, 15,000 fans. It's a different kind of energy. Even though there's that many people there, like I don't see nobody, but you can hear and feel the vibration, and it's just a different kind of energy you get. And I really hope my next fight is in front of a crowd, like a big crowd. That's what I want. Shit, I want to bring back the UFC to Tulsa, Oklahoma. We have the BOK. Last time they came, they had 11,000 or no 7,000 in attendance. I think with the way MMA is blown up now, come back to Tulsa, Oklahoma. I think we'll sell out the BOK.
No doubt. Just with the way that every fight night keeps breaking the last one's record, there's no doubt that it's just everything. Even Dana said they're getting out of the Apex a lot more this year and going to cities. So, yeah, that'd be awesome, dude, to see you on that Oklahoma card.
Yeah, I mean, we got more Oklahoma fighters finally now. I mean, a lot of people don't know, but Tim Means, he's born in Oklahoma, but he fights out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. We got Cody Gibson. He's born in Oklahoma, but fights out of Team Alpha Male, I believe, most of the time. We got Jacoby Smith that just picked up a knockout last night. I believe, I don't know if he's from Oklahoma, but he wrestled for OSU, so I'm going to give him that Oklahoma status. We got the Raging Panda. Uh, I think it's Julia. From Oklahoma. So we got a few Oklahoma fighters, and I think they bring the right card. I mean, Oklahoma was one of the first states that actually opened back up to fans. So I was really surprised they didn't come back to Oklahoma or haven't been to Oklahoma since I believe it's 2013. So coming up on 12 years.
Way too long.
How are you feeling after your recent injury? I know that you just recently got back to hitting the pads and everything. What happened there?
Yeah, so in the Nate Maness fight, it was a good fight. It's tough, but I did something to my knee. The MRI said it was a light tear and a partial tear, in some words that I can't even pronounce. So we had to do some physical therapy. I thought I was going to get stem cell injections because they got that approved, but then the doctor said he wanted me to do more physical therapy and put a knee brace on. Took a little longer to heal, but he felt that it's going to make it stronger in the long run. So we went ahead and did that. I got cleared, I think, in late October, maybe early November. And when I got cleared, I don't know, like, if my manager told the UFC, like, look, we're ready. We want to get booked. I wasn't quite ready to get booked, but I did want them to know I was getting back to training. And the UFC actually offered me Jose Can't Make Weight Johnson. That's the biggest 125er because he made weight one time. Uh, the guy called me out twice when he fought at 135. He finally makes 125, says he wants to fight me. I'm like, I'm game to fight you. The UFC offered me him around November, like I said, for the January 11th card. I told the UFC I love the matchup. Unfortunately, I'm not back to full time training yet. Can I please get that fight in February or March? Well, I don't think the UFC liked that. Like I said, I don't know the exact words that was exchanged between my manager and McMahon, but at the end of the day, they told me they're not going to book me until after the first quarter now. Jose Johnson personally messaged me and was like, you can't run from me forever. I'm like, well, first off, the first time you ever called me out, you fought at 135. And that was the night I fought Nate Smith on the Tuesday night contender. And then Ronnie Lawrence just demolished him with like 72 takedowns, the most in the Tuesday night contender history. And then you want to keep calling me out, dude, but wasn't even at my weight class. That's why, like, I got some disrespectful things to say about him. I really hope the UFC don't cut him now that he's 1-3, and I do get the opportunity to go out there and choke him out because I would have tapped him out a lot quicker than what's his name did last night. Um, so I'm ready to get back in there, and I feel like the UFC just offered me something a little too early. So I really hope I get the March or April and probably be back at the Apex. But regardless, after the Nate fight, I feel like I can really push the pace. Nate went to a decision with Umar at 135, where Umar never threatened to finish him. I almost finished Nate at the end of round one with the Von Flick choke, and the bell saved him. Saved Malcolm Gordon up in Canada as well. Round two, I had him in the guillotine. He popped out, and then like I just wasn't able to find the submission. I think if I would have been able to do more, um, I don't want to blame it on the knee injury. I don't make excuses, but at the end of the day, I didn't get to do as much as I wanted to. I wanted to push the pace a little more, use my wrestling, and in the later rounds, I wasn't able to. But I gave Nate one of the toughest fights he ever had, and the UFC didn't even like the fact that he didn't finish me, and now he's not even in the UFC no more. So I'm ready to go out there and prove that I am one of the best 125ers. And I don't care who they give me. I told my manager, obviously, January 11th, I asked him to move it. But I told him the next one, just send the contract. I don't care who it is or when it is. I'm ready to fight.
Awesome.
Awesome. Is 125 the spot that you feel most comfortable at, or have you ever thought about moving around?
Oh, I have. I mean, I actually have a pro fight at 145. I have my pro boxing is at 141, 143. Uh, I had a pro kickboxing fight. I was supposed to fight MMA at 125. Guy came in at like 138, so I ended up fighting at 140. Catch weight 140, but it was technically a featherweight kickboxing fight. In MMA, most of my uh, brutal losses are at 135. For example, Ray Rodriguez had a great fight with him, almost finished him in round one. Kind of wore myself out on the bigger guy, got caught with an elbow, got put to sleep. Levi Mouse, he's just a great jiu-jitsu guy, was able to stop my jiu-jitsu and just pounded me out. So at 35 is where I took most of my more losses, because the guys are bigger. I am a big 25er, but I've never missed weight. So I've always been able to manage to make the cut, stay strong, stay physical. And now that I'm coming up on my later ages, I'm 34. I know how to stay more committed. I know what I need to do. I know when I overtrain, when I undertrain. And I do this for a living now. I mean, I have some side work I do, but I train 3, 4 times a day sometimes, and I'm able to monitor my training and spend time with my family and be there for my kids, and it makes me feel good. And I'm got 3 fights on this contract, and I want to win all 3 fights in 2025, be ranked, and then get another third UFC contract and see what 2026 has.
Sweet. One of my last questions, man. What are your plans for 2025 with the 3 fights, and do you have any names that you want specifically?
Let's see. I mean, there's so many. I mean, I want to fight. I know him more by his nickname, Lazy Boy.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. Okay.
I want to fight Lazy Boy. He's undefeated. He's a prospect. I would like to give him an O. I think he fades in later rounds. If I could push the pace early, I think that'd be a great fight. Um, who is there out there? Obviously Joshua Van. He's ranked now. He jumped up there. He lost to Cody, but he beat or he beat Cody, but lost to Charles. I have a loss to Charles. I beat Cody. Cody beat Charles. There's a lot going on there. So I don't know what the UFC wants to do with me. There's so many fights. I could stay ready for some fights. There's a lot of Brazilians that are out there. I don't care, honestly. I mean, I I'll print out a list of the names and just say them all, because I just want the UFC to give me something. So uh, I'm 2-3 in the UFC, so I know I'm not huge or nothing, but I nonstop promote fights. I show that's what I do for a living. I show that's what I want to do. I show up. I make weight. I've had some brutal weight cuts. I've gone through hell, and I feel like if you can't make weight, you shouldn't fight at that weight class. If I ever miss at 125, I'll never fight at 125 again. And that's just because of how I am as a human being. I've been wrestling since I was 3 years old, and I've never missed weight. So I don't plan on missing weight. And if I do, I would move up to 35. But I don't see that happening. I'm too disciplined, and I want this too much. And I feel like when I get a hold of any of these 25ers, I can strangle all of them. So, and I'm ready to prove that. I mean, I have grappling matches against Carlos Diego. If y'all know Carlos Diego, 155 in the UFC, I grappled him for 10 minutes straight in an absolute submission only. Now, did I get dominated? Yeah, maybe. But did I get submitted? No, I didn't. I grappled Johnny Bedford. I didn't beat him in competition, but I put him to sleep in MMA. Like, my MMA jiu-jitsu is a lot different than just regular jiu-jitsu. But I want to get into combat jiu-jitsu. So I'd like to go compete for Eddie Bravo. I would like to do more jiu-jitsu competitions. Fury brought me out, and I grappled Marcelo Cohen, which is a world champ, and it went to a draw. Like, so I'm ready to compete more in jiu-jitsu as well, and just, go all around the world competing in jiu-jitsu or beating people up.
Awesome. Love to hear it.
Well, Jimmy, thank you for coming on. It's been an honor. Is there anybody you would like to shout out or plug a social?
Oh yeah, most definitely. If you haven't, follow my fan page, Jimmy the Brick Flick. My personal Facebook, it ran out, and I can't just okay everybody no more. I have Instagram at the Brick MMA. I have Twitter at the Brick MMA, and I have X at Jimmy Flick. Give a shout out to all my sponsors. Hopefully, I don't miss them. I try to remember them off the top of my head because I just like them that much. Harvest Health Dispensary, Tulsa Sport Acupuncture, Minuteman Plumbing of Tulsa, International Crematory Service, Industrial Motor Services, Broadway Barber Shop, The Parlor Hair and Ink, Inkwell Printing, HKA USA, Forza Combat Sports and Broken Arrow, My Lawyer Palmer Law, GG2 Sports and Card Show, Vista Pools Outdoor Living in Kiefer, Oklahoma, GG2 Sports and Card Show, my boy Micah Stockton, my insurance broker, Tom Wood with State Farm Insurance, and Sacred Ground Properties with the roofing company. So all my sponsors make this happen where I can train day in, day out and be ready for these fights. So I really appreciate them and everybody that supports me, man. Please follow me, and I always get back to you if you message me. Sometimes it takes time. I sell my merchandise, the brick merchandise. I got the brick hats. Like, I'm always trying to get my name out there, man. If it wasn't for fans and all the supporters, we wouldn't be able to do this for a living. So I kind of see it a different way. I'm just glad I get to do something I love. So, and I appreciate y'all for bringing me on here. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. Thank you.